Hey, this is Will from COMM 499, taught by Professor Kathy Inman Behrens, and this is an overview of the COMM 499 class. When talking about the most influential videos or readings, I would actually have to say, in terms of readings that is that the most influential readings were those created by my peers. We did WordPress blogs where we were talking about how Facebook worked, how we talked about privacy settings, all the little individual details of Facebook. I actually found those readings to be the most useful, the most intriguing, and the most filled with information because it was filled with a whole bunch of stuff I didn't know. I had to write my own, but everybody else's blog post was about something a little different, almost covering the whole board of what Facebook had to offer and exploring those details and explaining why those are important. So that was a lot of information that I found out, and those are the readings that I thought were the most intriguing, the most informative. In terms of the videos, we watched a lot of videos, but I actually specifically enjoyed when we were talking about the videos of the riots across the seas and maybe in the Northeast, and or the Middle East rather. And basically, I like those because we were talking about how those videos can be taken out of context when it comes to the news, things like that. And that was kind of information that I already had known about. I already knew about how the news takes things out of context, but it was just nice to actually apply that to a but it was nice to actually finally apply that to a classroom setting and really discuss it. But the readings and videos weren't the only thing that I found interesting. I love the immersion, how we really delved into the social networking, especially when we got to make our own web application for USC, which was really detailed. We really got hands-on with it. We all had a different job to do, but what made it the most interesting is we knew very little to almost nothing about making a web application. Like, we all knew information here and there. So it was really interesting getting into the project with that information or that little information and almost having to adapt to how the project went because it actually went a lot quicker than what we thought. Some things were easier, some things were harder. I, along the way, learned about, how to keep up with the evolving deadlines and how fast the project was moving. And that was very much an beneficial project for me. But also, speaking of immersion, we also got immersed into data finding, and that actually leads to our final projects, where actually was my favorite part of the class, and all the great feedback we got from Professor Behrens was just amazing. When I'm talking about what my favorite project was, I would actually have to say that the project on Occupy LA and the Occupy movement by my fellow students Liz and Sean was the most interesting to me and the most informative to me because I didn't know anything about the Occupy movement. And their project really not toned it down, but actually put it in a way in which they easily described it to me, in which I finally actually know what the Occupy movement is, their history, and a little bit of what their goals are. Um, I also liked another one of my fellow students, Matt, in his presentation on transfer students at USC and how their social networking and how their USC branding basically affects transfer students. And I like that because transfer students was actually a demographic of students that I knew very little about, and I never really thought about what the university life may be to them when they come in. But my project on Facebook and how USC uses Facebook was also interesting because I found a whole bunch of data that I wasn't even aware of, and how all the likes and how all the visits are basically spread out through all these Facebook pages. And I mean, I just learned a lot. And not only that, but it also taught me how to gather information, how to present that information, how to organize information. Once again, a very beneficial project. All in all, COM 499 is a great, great class. You get immersed in social networking, get to find and present your own data, and you get a hands-on experience. It's just great. So I like to thank all my fellow students. I like to thank really all the information I learned, but specifically I like to thank Professor Kathy Inman Behrens for helping me, the only sophomore in the class, among many older students, to get through this class, because really that hands-on experience and being able to talk to Professor Kathy Inman Behrens really makes the class helpful no matter who you are. So thank you, that's a wrap, and Merry Christmas.